sugar daddy. I'm a psychopath. I'm unstable. I'm a curmudgeon's curmudgeon. I'm an animal. I'm a tyrant. I'm a physical peon. But I'm a man. I'm incompetent with women. I'm one of the great Casanovas of all time. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a coward. I'm a nut job.
Welcome to Termini Crashes Out, an NBA podcast with Justin Termini, brought to you by DCLA. And now it's time for Termini to crash out.
All right, it's time to crash out. I believe this is episode number 5. You can follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Termini NBA, at Termini NBA. We're going to take some cuts here from what we do throughout the course of these programs, throw them up there, get you guys to interact on some of the other social media outlets. You also have me on Twitter at Termini NBA, at Termini NBA. And then, of course, follow and like and subscribe to us here on YouTube as well. And I'm in a good mood because for the first time in quite some time here in the city of Boston, JT was able to work out outside this morning, woke up around 5:45, 5:50 a.m. Eastern time, went out to play some tennis. First time I've done that since early December. So you might have me in a little bit of a better mood. Happy April Fool's Day. Whenever I think of April Fools, I think of a joke that my grandfather pulled on my grandmother several years ago when he was getting towards the end of life. He is now deceased, as is she, but he basically just sat in his chair, slumped over, and acted like he was dead. And I think it took her a couple of minutes to even call anybody. She, I think, was probably pleased that maybe he was deceased. But now he's dead for real. She's dead for real. That was a funny joke. And we'll see what we play today here on Sam Mitchell, who's going to be filling in for Eddie Johnson. If you're going to watch the normal show, which I'm going to do from 4 to 7 Eastern time on Sirius XM NBA radio. But I said I'm in a good mood because the weather is a little bit better here in Boston, and I get to go outside and play tennis this morning. I'm also in a better mood because it's officially April, which means we're in playoff month. And really, if you think at the top of the Western Conference, like I think the Eastern Conference could be really good because I think you could see an upset even in the first round, the way that Charlotte has played the last couple of months. They could upset either the Celtics or the Pistons as a top 2 seed. And then you never know if you have a healthy Embiid and a well-rested Paul George, what Philadelphia could do at least in a one-off against either Detroit or Boston. So that could be really intense. But the Western Conference could be arguably the biggest bloodbath we have ever seen in both the second round and the conference finals. I mean, you think about this. What the Thunder, the Spurs, and the Lakers were just able to accomplish in the month of March, those teams went a combined 43-5, which, according to my notes, is the first time that has happened since we started recording that stuff. We went to conferences, went to 2 separate conferences in 1971. That's the first time the top 3 seeds have combined to go 43-5 or better in the course of a month. So in the month of March. So we are getting everybody hot at the right time. And then on top of that, you have Denver, who is the 4th seed, and they've won 6 consecutive games, and they still arguably, and in my opinion, have the best player in the sport. They've been unhealthy all season long, but they're starting to get healthy with both Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon. So those front 4 in OKC, San Antonio, the Lakers, Denver, all starting to look like juggernauts at the right exact time. And it's just going to be an amazing second round because we could have Denver against OKC, the last couple of MVP winners, a rematch of last year's 7-game series, a couple of games that have either come down to the wire in regulation or gone to overtime earlier this year. So that could be one second round. The other second round could be San Antonio against the Lakers, 2 other MVP candidates going at it, and Luka and Wembanyama, plus the face of the league for the last 20 years in LeBron against the next face of the league in Wembanyama. And that's just the second round. 2 of those teams are going to have to meet in the conference finals. So I almost think the NBA finals might be anticlimactic because of all the talent out west, and the second round and the conference finals. I mean, we could see a second round that's reminiscent of most NBA finals with the talent that's going to be on the floor in those second round series, never mind the conference finals. So looking forward to the start of the postseason. Again, it is postseason month. April 1st, we are 18 days away. Things get kicked off, not including the play-in tournament, of course, but the actual playoffs start on April the 19th. All right, so a couple of different things. We just talked about what the Lakers did here, along with San Antonio and Oklahoma City and Denver in the month of March. So all four of those teams, tremendous in the month of March. No individual player, though, better than Luka. Now, again, the MVP race isn't just about 1 month. It's not about March, just like for Jokic. It's not about November or December, where he was the best player. It's about the entire season. I don't think that Luka's going to win the MVP. I have a vote. Right now, I put him a comfortable fourth, but I will give him credit for what he just did this month because it's one of the greatest months we've ever seen. He just finished this month averaging 37.5 points, 8 rebounds, 7.4 assists, shot 49% from the field, 39% from three, had 13 games of at least 30 points, 7 games of at least 40 points, 2 games of at least 50 points, and 1 game of at least 60 points. And in the process, became the 10th player in NBA history to record at least 600 points in a single month. So he was fantastic. And even more importantly, is the Lakers went 15-2. Sometimes you'll see some of these numbers being put up. It doesn't translate into wins. Luka was putting up these numbers. They were translating to wins, and they were coming against some pretty good teams. They beat the Knicks. They beat Denver. They beat Houston twice. They beat Minnesota. So I think the Laker fan is focused on the wrong thing. Laker fan here, all the I'm getting killed in my mentions, and we'll get to that in a second on Twitter at Germany NBA, because I said essentially I have Luka fourth in the MVP voting, gave a bunch of reasons why. They're crushing me for that. But you're focused on the wrong thing. I think the MVP is out of reach for Luka. Right now, it's about whether he finishes third or fourth. What's not out of reach, which is something that we thought was out of reach at the start of the year, maybe even 2 months ago, maybe even a month ago, was an NBA championship. I wouldn't favor the Lakers to do that right now, but the door is not closed. And that's something that's far more important as to whether or not Luka wins an MVP. Lakers have a legitimate shot right now to win the entire thing. They might be better than any team in the Eastern Conference. I would still say that I like OKC better. I like San Antonio better, especially since both those teams will have the home court advantage against the Lakers. But it's shaping up nicely in the first round because right now they would face the Houston Rockets in the first round. And of all the top 6 teams in the Western Conference, Houston is the one you want. Even though the Knicks last night made them look like the 95 Rockets, made Kevin Durant and Amen Thompson look like Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. But that's besides the point. I still think Houston is the weak link. LA's ticketed right now on pace to face them in the first round. All right. So that is that. Now on this MVP thing here with Luka, here is what, and again, this is society. It's, it is dumb out there and it is getting dumber in my estimation. It is dumb out there and it is getting dumber. Have you ever, just basically just checked social media and how stupid people are? Really, it's been a big confidence booster for me because I used to think I was stupid and I still don't think I'm Einstein. But then I scroll social media. It makes me feel like I'm a genius because there's a lot of stupid people out there, and they came out of the woodwork today because here's what I tweeted within the last 40 minutes or so. I tweeted, Jokic averages more rebounds, assists, on a better efficiency from the field, the line, and three than Luka, while also being the better defender than Luka, and handling the ball much less than Luka. So then I concluded that tweet by saying, so forget Luka winning the MVP. I'm as confused as to why he's ahead of Jokic in this race. And really, what is the argument out there for him to be ahead of Jokic despite trailing in all those categories? The only thing he leads in, Jokic in, is points by about 5 or 6 per game. Jokic leads in every other category. Oh, by the way, based off his efficiency, if they took the same amount of shots, Jokic would average just as much, if not more points. He's a more efficient scorer. So to me, he's a better scorer. Luka just takes a ton more shots. And by the way, Jokic is putting up all these numbers with the ball in his hand significantly less. Luka's at the top of the league in regards to usage. Jokic is significantly behind him. Like I said, possession per game, time of possession, Luka's at the top of NBA.com. When you check that list out, you got to go 3 or 4 pages deep in order to find Jokic. So he's putting up very similar numbers on better efficiency while handling the ball far less. And here's where the people are stupid out there. In my belief, and again, maybe you guys think I'm dumb. And again, I'm not the brightest bulb in the tool shed. And that's an example of it, because I think the saying is not the sharpest knife in the shed. But the point is that I'm getting berated by people saying better defensively. Luka is better defensively, or Jokic is better defensively. Jokic is better defensively. Couple of reasons why. One is he leads the league in defensive rebounding. And guess what? Defensive rebounding is defense. That ends a possession. If you don't get the defensive rebound, the defense continues to have to work for another possession. Okay, geniuses? So that is a part of defense, and Jokic is the best in the sport at it. He leads the league in defensive rebounds. Now, the other aspect of this is that if you watch Jokic, while he's not necessarily Kevin Garnett or Hakeem Olajuwon, he communicates at that level. Other players, including Anthony Edwards within the last year, has talked about how Jokic knows their plays before they're happening. Jokic is the guy at the back of the defense that's organizing things, telling his teammates where to be, telling them what play is coming. That's part of defense, communication. So again, I am not accusing him or lauding Jokic of being Hakeem Olajuwon or Bill Russell, but he's also a better defender than Luka Doncic. He's not Luka, he's not Damian Lillard. He still contributes on that side of the ball. So for those that say, well, Luka's a better defender than Jokic, or Jokic isn't a good defender, highly disagree. Now, here's the final aspect that I want to address on this. Here's how hypocritical the media can be when it comes to guys they like versus guys they don't like. And I'll be honest with you, the next guy I'm going to talk about, I have some bias towards. I don't like him. I think he does a okay job as a broadcaster, but I think he's a horrific human being. I don't like the guy as a person. I've had multiple interactions with him, and I feel like there's something missing with maybe how he was raised. And that's that carnival barker over at Fox Sports. And maybe I'll address this on my show as well when I have a little bit of a bigger platform, since we're just starting here on YouTube, and we're up to about 141 subscribers. But that's that carnival barker over on Fox Sports, Nick Wright, who unfortunately uses his platform just to say stuff for attention rather than stuff that he believes. All right. And he said within the last 24 hours or so that defense should not be a factor or a big factor in making the case for Luka over Wembanyama. And again, when you don't believe in anything you say, it's difficult to keep a track of things that you do say. So he clearly doesn't believe what he says, because he's done a complete 180 on the impact of defense on the MVP race. So here's what he said within the last 24 hours, because he's a big Luka fan. He says, in real time, people are trying to change what the historical qualifiers for MVP are in service of one guy's candidacy in Victor Wembanyama and against another guy's candidacy in Luka Doncic, which is an award that has never been 50% defense, 50% offense. Changing it up is, I think, says Nick Wright, disingenuous. Well, you want to say disingenuous. How about this guy saying that defense shouldn't be a major factor when last year he used defense to rail against Jokic, a guy who historically he has criticized. Last year, in trying to make the argument for SGA versus Nikola Jokic, he said the following: SGA's numbers, they're not triple doubles, but 33 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game. And here's the best part that I'm getting to. And he says, with much better defense. Oh, so defense doesn't matter when it's Luka Doncic versus Wembanyama because you like Luka, but when it's SGA against Jokic, defense all of a sudden matters. I see how that works. And that's within a year of each other, those comments. Again, I don't mind if you don't think defense matters at all. I don't care if you think defense should matter a ton. But what you can't do is be inconsistent. How could you trust that guy as a media member if he doesn't hold consistent values or consistent thought processes? It's just, all right, well, I like this guy, I don't like that guy, so it matters in this case, it doesn't matter in that case. Why would you take that guy seriously? So according to that hypocrite, Nick Wright, defense mattered last year when he was making an argument for SGA over Jokic, but now, for a guy I like, Luka against Wembanyama, defense doesn't matter that much. What a fake, phony fraud. And again, don't forget, this is the same guy who called Jokic the worst MVP since Dave Cowens. First of all, that's a joke because Dave Cowens is a historically great player. And he's not the worst MVP of all time. Dave Cowens was the best player on one or two title teams, won 2 championships. Dave Cowens finished in the top 5 of MVP voting 4 times. Not once when he won it, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times, top 5. That tells you that he was consistently good. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a one-off. 4 times in the top 5. And you're degrading his career? A guy that outplayed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the heart of Kareem's prime in 1974 in a Game 7 on his home floor? So that's one reason why you don't take it seriously. And then 2 is, ever since those comments, Jokic has gone on to win 2 more MVPs and was worthy of maybe another. It has 3 MVPs, which is the same as Magic, Bird, and Moses. So clearly it wasn't a fluke with Jokic. And Jokic is back in the mix this year and is going to get, you would think, some first place votes. I just saw Darius Miles earlier today, the former NBA player who doesn't have a vote, say he would go with Jokic. And again, it's a feasible argument. The guy leads the league in rebounds and assists, is top 10 in scoring, is doing it more efficiently than every other guy in the MVP race. And to me, is arguably the greatest offensive player of all time. And again, since those comments where he's the worst MVP since Dave Cowens, 1973. Since then, he's basically got himself in the conversation as one of the 10 to 12 to 15 players in the history of the sport. So I just wanted to call out that fake, phony fraud. And again, take it with a grain of salt, because I don't have much respect for him as a human being. So at least I'll be forthright with those comments. And again, maybe we'll address this when we have a little bit of a bigger platform coming up on SiriusXM NBA Radio, 4 to 7 Eastern time, this time with Sam Mitchell. He's in for Eddie Johnson. All right, couple of other things. This on the Knicks, and we will address this during the show for sure. The starting lineup is just not working, and I did a little bit of a deep dive into it today with some statistical feedback, because when this team was put together, think about the mindset. That starting lineup that they went all in to bring in Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, traded a lot of assets to get those guys, Brunson via free agency, Josh Hart. That was supposed to be their strength. Hey, if the Knicks are going to win, it's because they have the best starting 5 in the NBA. Well, so far this year, it's the same issue they had last year. This year, they have shared the floor for over 1,000 possessions. During those 1,000 possessions, they're getting outscored in those minutes. Think about that. That's supposed to be the strength of their team. That's their starting lineup. I'd be hard-pressed. Now, I don't even know how to access this, but I would be hard-pressed to think I would find another team that's won an NBA championship and done so when their starting lineup is getting outscored, especially when the team isn't known for depth, and the Knicks aren't necessarily known for depth. Mitchell Robinson, good player. It's not Bill Walton coming off the bench circa 1986. Same for Deuce McBride. He's not necessarily Vinnie Johnson, the microwave, in the late 80s, early 90s, coming off the bench for the Pistons. So you don't have that type of bench. And on top of that, your starting lineup is getting outscored. Now, just to juxtapose that, okay? The most used Knicks lineup is getting outscored. Meanwhile, the most used Celtics lineup is outscoring their opponents by 18.9 points per 100 possessions. And that doesn't even include Tatum, who just came back and is looking good, one player of the week. Now, he'll be playing more. But even without Tatum, their most used lineup is outscoring their opponents by 18.9 points per 100 possessions. The Pistons' most used lineup is outscoring opponents by 12.8 points per 100 possessions, meaning they're crushing their opponents. The most used Thunder lineup, outscoring their opponents by 19.1 points per 100 possessions. The Spurs' most used lineup, outscoring their opponents by 21.6 points per 100 possessions. So all four of those teams, the other top seeds in both conferences, are both absolutely obliterating their opponents when their most used lineups are out there. Meanwhile, the Knicks, who are supposed to be built on their starting lineup, are getting outscored with their starters on the floor in their most used lineup. That's got to change. But again, it's a trend that is under Tom Thibodeau and now under Mike Brown. So Mike Brown has to hurry up and make a change, you would think. He threatened one a couple of weeks ago, but has done nothing about it. They're running out of time. And remember, Tom Thibodeau had to do the same thing, but he waited until the Eastern Conference Finals last year. By that point, it was too late. Mike Brown's got to figure out what the plan of attack is, because you're not going to win a championship if your starting lineup is getting outscored to that level. And that includes games against the Little Sisters of the Poor. That's not against the Pistons and the Celtics and the Cavaliers, who you're going to have to face in the postseason, or once you get to the finals, the Thunder or the Spurs or the Lakers and the Nuggets. They're getting outscored, and that includes games going up against Washington, going up against the Pelicans, so on and so forth. And then you look beyond the numbers. You don't even need the numbers to tell you that this team is in trouble. Their chemistry is off. Several different occasions last night, Karl Anthony Towns didn't even join the huddle. Then at the end of the first half, he makes a nice pass to OG Anunoby. At the buzzer, he hits the shot. Maybe you're feeling good heading into halftime. Karl Anthony Towns looked like somebody just killed his dog. Sorry, Zuzu, to bring that up. Got my dog behind me. Looked like somebody just killed his cat, I'll say. She got upset. And they even pointed it out on the halftime show with Carmelo Anthony and Tracy McGrady, talking about how you should be excited after that. But the body language is just horrible. And if you're miserable, you're not winning a title. And Towns should be miserable. He's almost 2 full years into his tenure there. He is a max player. He's an all-NBA guy. He's a former number 1 overall pick. They still don't know how to use him. They still haven't figured it out. And I've been saying it for weeks now. The Knicks, statistically speaking, better on offense, better on defense, better net rating, better record than they had last year. But they don't feel better. The vibes don't feel as good. And the individual play doesn't feel as good. Brunson, having his worst season maybe as a Knick. Every other year he's been there, he's really been in the MVP conversation. Not this year. Towns, maybe the worst season of his career since his rookie campaign. Mikal Bridges looks horrible. And you gave up 5 first-round picks for him. Looks like if you put him back in the draft right now, he wouldn't even be a first-round pick himself. So the Knicks got some issues, and they don't have much time to figure it out. All right, so those are the 2 main topics. Now I'll just do a little story time here to close. And this isn't necessarily anything funny. I know on previous editions of this program, I've done some funny stuff with, Rick Barry stories, Mike Dunleavy stories, so on and so forth. I'm going to give you a Jeremy Lin story from 2012 during Linsanity, the height of Linsanity. So at that point in my career, I am serving as an update anchor. All right, we're at the top of the hour. This is Justin Turbiding. Here is your news. So I'm serving as an update anchor 2012. I'm also doing a weekend show, all sports. So not just NBA. I'm doing it on Mad Dog Radio, talking basketball, talking college basketball, football, college, NFL, Major League Baseball, tennis, everything. But it's just weekends. I'm busting my butts. Weekends fill in during the week, etc., overnights. And I get a call because of an incident with another host about a week before the All-Star game. Not even a week, couple of days. And they say, Justin, can you go down to Orlando to cover the All-Star game? This is my first big break. I've never traveled for the company. I've never done anything remotely close to this. So I am absolutely ecstatic, but I don't have much time to prepare. And again, I've never done this before. So we head down to All-Star Weekend. I am nervous because I want to prove that I can handle this so I get more opportunities like this in the future. So not only do I need to do a good job, I want to make sure that we get a bunch of great guests. They sent me down with this guy named Tom Kress, who still works at Sirius. This guy is a producer, and he's one of my favorites of all time. But he also is a little mentally unbalanced. He's got some issues, okay? So we go down there, and he wants to prove himself as well. And, you know, it's not moving as fastly as I would like it. I'm watching all these big names walk by. We're getting none of them. So I'm screaming at Tom Kress, you've got to get this guy. You've got to get that guy. This is unacceptable. We came all the way down here. You have to do a better job. The NBA's got to do a better job of giving us guests. So I am screaming at him. And now, to his credit, and this is why I liked him so much. One, he held himself to a high standard. And then two, he didn't get sensitive and go, stop yelling at me. He said, don't you worry about it. You focus on doing a good show. I'll take care of this, which is very rare for a producer. A lot of times you get sensitive. He did not. But in turn, while I was speaking very harshly to him, I was acting nice to everybody with the NBA. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Thanks for having us. And Tom was lighting into him. We need this guest. We need that guest. We spent all this money to come down here. Sirius XM is expecting us to come back with a lot of interviews from big names. So he was driving the NBA absolutely up a wall. Okay? But it worked. Now, they didn't want him back in the future. Me, I was fine. And I've gone to every All-Star game since, sans 2021 because of COVID there in Atlanta. Every other one I've been to. Tom, we don't really want him back because he was a little bit off his rocker. Didn't really handle himself professionally. But it worked. We end up getting LeBron. We end up getting Kevin Durant. We end up getting Chris Paul, Dominique Wilkins, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dwight Howard when he was a free agent or about to be a free agent down in Orlando. So that was a big interview. And then David Stern, and that's a story for another day, my interview with David Stern, because that went off the rails a little bit. I was nervous at the time, ended up being one of the best sit-downs I've ever had because he likes to go back and forth. But I'll give that story at a future date. Anyway, and this is one of those things that people that didn't live through it will never understand, just how big Jeremy Lin was at the time. So I go down there, and Sirius was happy I got LeBron, was happy I got David Stern, Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Dwayne Wade, all those guys at the peak of their powers, huge names. But they were more concerned with me getting Jeremy Lin than LeBron James. And I'm not even saying that Sirius was out of line for that, because I get down there, and it was actually harder to secure an interview with Jeremy Lin than LeBron James. They gave me LeBron James for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. They gave me him so long, I almost ran out of questions with LeBron. Nobody put any pressure like, hey, you got to wrap it up with LeBron. We need to move him on. He's very busy. He's a huge name. They just let me sit down there with him for 10 to 12 minutes. And it was like, I got every question I wanted out of LeBron. And he sat down comfortably. There's nobody around us. Meanwhile, Jeremy Lin was so busy and so in demand that they made me pick up a recorder, leave the set, walk with Jeremy Lin for about a minute and a half. And as I'm walking, there are hundreds of people surrounding us as I get 2-3 questions in with Jeremy Lin as we're walking. That's how difficult it was to land an interview with Jeremy Lin at All-Star Weekend. He was bigger than LeBron, David Stern, Kevin Durant, anybody else associated with the NBA. I have sat down and interviewed comfortably Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell. Yet with Jeremy Lin, it's, hey, you've got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes as we walk from this end of the hallway to the other. That's how big Jeremy Lin was at the time. Absolutely crazy. All right, so we're going to get into a lot of different stuff on the show later today, 4 to 7 Eastern time. It's going to be with Sam Mitchell instead of Eddie Johnson. Eddie is traveling. Hope you enjoyed the conversation on Luka versus Jokic, the conversation there on the Knicks issues, and my little Jeremy Lin story. We're going to address most of this stuff here on the program, plus much more, 4 to 7 Eastern time. Remember, the more people that sign up for this, the more we will do this, trying to do just about every other day, here on the YouTube page. Termity Crashes Out. So sign up, subscribe, like, do whatever you need to do. Follow on TikTok and Instagram at Termity NBA. Follow on Twitter at Termity Radio. And of course, we want to thank our sponsor, my guy Deepak out there in Los Angeles, who sets me up with all the great outfits. I'm not wearing one today because we're not really leaving the house after this. But you can find him at bydcla.com. That's bydcla.com. All sorts of custom suits. I'll have to show some off here on the show at some point. I have one where it's got a Kobe Bryant montage on the inside. So you take the coat off, you show the montage there of Kobe. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you in about an hour on Sirius XM NBA Radio. This has been Termity Crashing Out.